Hello.
Hi.
Welcome. These are our May reads. My first read of May was A Little Life. So that tells you how I wanted to begin my month. I gave it 5 stars, which we have a Little Life video. Either, is it out or is it later?
This is coming out later than that, so it's out.
Oh, yeah. So that's coming later, so I won't waffle on about it now. But it's very sad and I cried a lot.
I read Win, Lose, Kill, Die, which after the midnight game, I wanted to be like amazing, blow my brains out, but they just didn't. So, yeah. Like, you could tell what the plot twists are going to be before it ended. But then I also read Let's Play Murder, which had the same plot twist. So I knew what was going to happen before that, so it was kind of less enjoyable, but that was a good book too. Go.
The next book I read was Want to Go Private by Sarah Dara Littman. And I gave it 3.5 stars. It was kind of predictable. It was actually quite hard to get a hold of because I don't think it's in print anymore. So I bought a second-hand one off Amazon. Because I could not, it wasn't on Waterstones or anything. I could not get it. Luckily, I got the nice cover and not the ugly cover. I was really worried about that. Because when you buy, I don't know if you know, but when you buy a used book on Amazon, it doesn't show you which cover you're going to get. So I was anxious about that one. I was waiting for that delivery, like, please, I beg. But I got the alright cover for that one. But it's about a young girl who talks to this guy online and essentially gets groomed and kidnapped. And her friends are kind of left to try and find her and find out what happened and that kind of stuff. It is good, and I get, like, the writing style was really easy to read. You could tell it was written for teenagers as like a warning. It was like a, if you do this, bad things will happen to you. Do not speak to anyone ever. Noted. Not that we listened to that as teenagers, but you know, the Kik antics were real. For those of you that are not old enough to know, Kik was a messaging app and it was full of nonsense.
Okay, next one.
Oh, I wasn't finished, but okay.
Oh, I can keep going. You just stopped abruptly.
I think it would be a good book, like, for teenagers in school, kind of like around that age, like 15, 16, to be like, do not speak to people. Ever.
Point blank.
And then I read American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. And I gave that 3 stars / 3.5 because I get what it's meant to be. I get the point of it. I get that it's like this novel that you should read. Like, it's like one of those novels to read before you die thing. But there was so much fucking waffling. I get why there was waffling. I get the point to it because you're meant to be experiencing with him getting bored of his life.
Solid.
And going crazy because of it. But it was just too much. There would be like a chapter where he would just discuss a music artist and all of their albums and like why they are how they are and the sound and things.
Why?
Because one of his things is that he likes music.
So?
But that would be his inner narrative while he was killing someone. Yeah.
Okay.
Because like when you watch the movie, you hear him talking about a Whitney Houston album while he's like really brutally murdering someone. There are massive trigger warnings for this book because some of the murder scenes and some of the scenes in general are extremely detailed and really gory and quite descriptive. I went into this book and as it like began, I was like, this isn't that bad. It's not that bad at all. It gets so much worse. I was not expecting it. There is like this infamous rat scene and I was like, it can't be that bad based on what I'd read so far. It was awful. It was bad. And didn't have me nearly gagging. I did nearly gag at some of this stuff. It was a good book. I did enjoy it, but it was hard to get through because some of it was just so fucking boring. There was a lot of detailed descriptions of like people's outfits. Like when he'd meet with other people that work in his office building, he'd be like, oh, George is wearing this Armani suit with this type of stitching and all this. And I was like, but as he gets crazier, those details become a lot shorter. So like at the beginning of the book, you'd have like 2-3 pages of him describing his friends' outfits and like what he was wearing and his routines and things. There's literally a chapter of him just describing his morning routine. But towards the end of the book, it's like he could be wearing this suit, I'm not really sure. back to murder.
Fair.
It is a good book though.
Then I read Love You to Death, which all that book told me was that men are crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. But it was written for preteens, like very much so. So I gave it 3.5 stars, but if I was like a 13-year-old, I'd have been like all over that.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean by that. After I read American Psycho, I fell down the TikTok rabbit hole of really wanting to read horror books. That's been my obsession recently. So I read It's Me, Charlie, which is a very, very short, like 67-page short story, but it was really good. I didn't give it a rating, apparently. Okay, I didn't give it a rating. I think it's hard to rate something that short, like with a star rating. But basically, it was another like, don't talk to people online kind of sitch. Because this guy became really obsessed with this influencer girl, to the point where he like killed his mother because he had a really toxic relationship with his mother, and moved to the town she lived in and got a job there so he could follow her around to plan to kidnap her. Because she wasn't just an influencer, she was an author. She was an author of like smutty books, and he was gonna like try and recreate some of the scenes with her against her.
Oh.
Yeah. So he kidnaps her. She does escape, luckily, but it was actually like, it was one of those things where I was like, when I finished reading it, I was like, time to delete all of my social media. That is too much. I would not want to experience that, because at like one point he has her dangling from a hook. It's not a pleasant fun time for anyone. It is, for a 67-page story, it was good. Like, it was really good. I then read Womb by Duncan Ralston, which is 119 pages, another short story. I gave it 2.5 stars. I was really disappointed by this, because people on like horror book talk and horror YouTube had rated this so highly. They were like, it's gross, it disgusted me, I had to stop reading it, blah blah blah. It was like really, really good, so unpredictable. It was so predictable. I was so upset. It's basically about this kind of man with a deranged past and a plus size hooker meet at a motel and exchange stories kind of situation. But like, it goes deeper because he has like a connection to this motel and things have happened in this particular bedroom, and it was nasty. It was, a lot of the stuff was kind of gross, but like, it could have been grosser. And also, it's like, he's telling these little stories that are actually like, he's masking them, but they're actually his stories from his life. But you kind of get that vibe, and it's kind of like, it's meant to be this big plot twist, but you can predict it. And then it's all meant to be leading up to this like final event that happens between the hooker and the guy at the end. And I also really predicted that, because of the themes of the other stories. You can kind of see where it's going, and you're like, everyone was like, oh my god, the plot twist is so good, I didn't see that coming. Obvious as fuck. I'm either really deranged and have something wrong with me, or it was just bad. The story didn't really, like I said, he kind of like wanted to be reborn. It was really weird. The story didn't really make sense, and the plot twist was very lackluster. And then I'll let you do your last one, and then I'll do my last one.
Well, this is my kind of first one, which was Boy Like Me, which was about queers, gays. Oh. It was so good. It was written kind of weird, the first chapter, and I thought, don't think I'm gonna like this writing style, because he like spoke directly to you and in the form of like a script. But made me laugh, made me cry.
All the good stuff.
Yeah. But it's basically sectioned, well, the book is about the section 28, which prohibits anything gay being written about. And these two boys find this secret book that's disguised about wallflowers, flowers of Britain. And they read it, and they write notes in the book to each other, which was
that's really cute.
Because it was based in 1994, and it was only written if today's society hadn't adapted to like gay people, and they couldn't really be free. And then you got like the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida. You got the ban of drag queens in fucking
everywhere.
Yeah, fucking everywhere. And then you've also got the death penalty in Uganda.
Yeah.
So it was a very important book.
Very on topic.
If you're going to read anything, it should be that book.
It'd be a good book for Pride Month.
Yeah.
For sure. I do want to read it. You have convinced me it does sound good.
It is so good.
I think you're right. It sounds like a very important book. But no one's going to let that book go in a school because we live in a society. The last book of the month that I read was Cows by Matthew Stokoe, and it was 206 pages. And I can normally get through a 206-page book in a day, in an afternoon, an evening. It took me 10 days to read this.
Because it was so good?
I gave it 2.5 stars. That's generous, to be honest. Read this on Kill. Again, this was hyped, this book. Everyone was like, I had to stop reading it. It was too gross, couldn't finish it. I was like, yeah, finally, something to give me that oomph that I really want. Because I've gone into this genre of reading wanting to be disgusted, wanting to be so put off by a book that I have to stop reading it. That I have to not finish it. Or like even I have to take like a long break from it.
But isn't that essentially what it did?
Not in the good way though. Not in the, it was bad writing, for sure. Like, it took me 10 days to read this book, not because of that, but because it was just not good. It was a push to get through. My first comment, this is like, I don't often leave a review on Goodreads. The only Goodreads review I've actually left is on A Little Life where I put ouch, and then I reviewed this and I just put what the fuck. That was my my only 2 reviews on, like, written reviews on Goodreads. I only do stars other than that. I feel like this book was shock factor just for the sake of it. The plot was all over the place. There was like too much going on, and not in like the good way. It was just so much. And because of the way it was written, it didn't flow very well.
Nice.
I get the point it was trying to make about like consumerism and how we just like consume too much, and like the meat business in general. And it kind of felt like a wacky cross version of American Psycho and Animal Farm. Like someone just mashed those books together, including the themes. Like generally because they were talking cows, and there was a lot happening in this, like meat factory. It was very like Comrade, we shall kill the humans vibes, but also man is bored of his life and starts doing weird shit to cows because of... It was like corruption of a system, corruption of a hierarchy. Massive trigger warnings if you do decide to read this. Not that my review has given you a reason to read this, but there's descriptions of bestiality, excessive gore, gross stuff, dead animals, really like descriptive practice of like gross things they are doing to animals, like killing wise and bestiality wise. They do not like skimp on the details. You get every little detail. And also really gross descriptions of food. In like, if you're someone that is like on the spectrum and have like, or have an eating disorder, have issues with food, I wouldn't recommend you read this, because like that grossed me out more than the stuff that they were doing to the animals. Because I have weird things with food and I cannot, like, for such a short book, it took me so long to read. It was awful to get through, and not in the good horror way, it was just bad. And I summarised it with talking cows, a dead baby nailed to a wall, a dog's corpse shoved up his dead girlfriend's cooch. That is all you really need to know about that book, because the story is whack. It doesn't really make any sense. It's just... It's like the author had like some weird acid trip dream and just put it in a book, and not in a good way. And that was my last book of the month, yeah.
Nice.
Ended on a really good note there. Started so strong and it was all downhill.
A Little Life being the strong point.
Yeah. That's how you know it's a bad month, really, don't you?
Well, bye.
Bye.
I like how we always end it so abruptly.
Yep.